Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we talk about all major movie and television news, theories, breakdowns, and much, much more. I'm your host Chris, and in a world where Easter eggs and cinematic universes are all of the rage, there isn't a franchise more popular and well-loved and desired than the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And with the recent extremely successful release of Spider-Man No Way Home, I got to thinking to myself, what are the greatest cinematic moments in Marvel history? Now, obviously, this is a very personal question, an opinion that will be changed from person to person. So it's likely that my thoughts in this video don't align with yours. And not only is that okay, that's expected, that's encouraged. I love when people in a community who have similar interests and loves and relationships with a character can find different intimate moments within those reactions to what happens on the big screen. Now, when I use the term cinematic moments, I think to myself, when you're watching it, usually on the big screen in the theater, surrounded by huge and loyal fans to the franchise, you have moments that you will never forget. Moments that could change you or affect you or touch you in an emotional, intimate way. Cinematic moments are slow motion memories that you will just always have with you when you rewatch movies down the year. When you talk about, hey, I remember the first time I watched this movie, you'll think back to that moment and you'll still get goosebumps. And honestly, Marvel Studios has managed to create some pretty insane cinematic moments throughout the year. So I'm going to talk about some of the best cinematic moments in the MCU's history in today's video. Consider subscribing to the channel and turning on that notification bell if you haven't already, and comment down below, what is your all-time favorite cinematic moment in Marvel history? And does my list kind of look similar to yours? Or is yours completely different? Let me know in the comment section down below. Love to interact with all you guys, and this video even more so, as we're talking about something so personal, and I'll even say important to the individual fan. So let's start off with number 5. Now, obviously, there are a ton of different moments that one could call to and say, this is the best moment in Marvel history. I remember sitting in the theater, fans were screaming, everything was going crazy, I saw my favorite characters on the screen, so I went with number 5, Avengers versus Thanos on Titan. Now, this scene included Iron Man, Spider-Man, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, and during this sequence, there were so many different abilities, colors, moments, fighting, scenes, phrases, quotes, much like when Iron Man was talking to Thanos and Thanos pretty much just destroys him in a few punches, and Iron Man had to go through all of the effort just to get a drop of blood, and Thanos very, very clearly reminds him of this right before he stabs him with his own armor and then moves on to finish defeating the Avengers. Another part I like about this is actually they almost defeated Thanos in this moment, taking away the gauntlet as Mantis was holding his mind. Spider-Man was trying to get the gauntlet and the rest were holding him down using magic or other abilities, but because of the flaw of a character, Peter Quill, the moment was lost to them, and they weren't actually able to get the gauntlet away from Thanos. I love to see character flaws, emotional flaws. He was upset because Gamora was dead and it was Thanos' fault, and he loved Gamora. This flaw meant the entire MCU was forever changed, and I do like to see that superheroes aren't perfect. And that's something I feel like in many different moments Marvel can highlight very well. Number 4. Now, this comes at probably little surprise and is on the majority of people's list, and it is during Avengers End Game, the final battle, the final sequence, when all of the Avengers show up and help. And it starts off with Captain America getting a radio call on your left, which is obviously a very important callback to earlier in the MCU when Captain America and Falcon were training, and Captain America would constantly run past him yelling, on your left. Now we get the call from Falcon reaching out to Captain America, who was desperately in need for help, and he says, on your left. Doctor Strange's portals open, and every character in the MCU makes it to the final battle against Thanos, where later on all order is restored, the snap happens, and the universe is saved. This specific moment when he says on your left and the portals are open is a cinematic moment I will never forget. And this is because the theater was silent. Captain America was at the point of losing his battle with Thanos. His shield was broken, his energy was gone, his hope was gone, all was lost seemingly. And then you hear on your left, everybody's silent. The portals open. We see the characters walk through. Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, others. And then the theater loses it. Absolutely insane, a moment I will never forget, and honestly, so much joy can be felt just from seeing your favorite superheroes come to join the three, Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America, who were in desperate need of help as they were about to battle Thanos. Following the sequence when all of the characters are running forward in this awesome, heroic moment to save the day and help try to defeat Thanos, it's not something anybody's going to forget, and it is definitely worthy of anyone's top 5 cinematic moments of all time. Number 3. Now, this one was really hard for me to put on the 3rd spot, but the 2 that come after it, they just beat it. And this is the original Avengers Assemble moment, and it happens in the first ever Avengers movie when all of the Avengers are in during the Battle of New York together in a circle and the camera pans around them. You all know exactly which moment I'm talking about. It's very likely many of you will have this on your top 5 moments as well. I remember as a much younger kid watching this moment, thinking to myself, wow, I freaking love Marvel. It was so cool. The Avengers, how is this happening right now? We're watching a film that's a collaboration of all other films, and they've come to this moment. We're in the Battle of New York, and Iron Man and Black Widow, Hawkeye even, they're gonna save the day. Hulk's always angry, yeah, he is. Super cool moment, and I recall specifically thinking, I love the MCU. I love Marvel. I love these characters, and I love what is happening. Little did I know at that time all of the crazy things that would come down the road, that currently we're sitting with over 45 different Marvel projects that are either in production, being filmed, or haven't even been announced yet for the upcoming several years. The MCU has become something bigger than little old me could ever even imagine, and I am so excited for those future moments. But I couldn't forget that one moment when I thought to myself, this is the coolest thing ever. Number 2 on my list, and this definitely took a lot of debating, my number 1 versus my number 2. Number 2 comes from Spider-Man No Way Home, and it is the moment when all 3 Spider-Men made a game plan, figured it out, jumped off the scaffolding, and in perfect, glorious succession, web swung their way around the Statue of Liberty to land in a glorious superhero pose 1, 2, and 3. This moment I remember in the theater was without a doubt the one I stood up for, and as excited as I was to see the other Spider-Men make their entrance into the film, this moment took my breath away. The theater was screaming, and I could not wait to see the 3 of them actually get it together. I thought it was very cool and clever of Sony and Disney to show 3 Spider-Men who didn't know how to fight together. They're not team fighters generally, and although Tom Holland's Peter Parker knew a little bit about fighting as a team, he didn't know about fighting with other Spider-Men. As we got to see them team huddle, hear the I love you from Andrew, and then run off of the scaffolding in what was almost perfect order, I was just absolutely blown away by that. I almost made it my number 1 favorite cinematic moment of all time. However, the actual number 1 just could not be beat yet. I want to throw out an honorable mention. I feel like this one deserved to be mentioned. It just couldn't beat these other top 5s, and that is the Bring Me Thanos moment when Thor drops down to Earth during the Wakanda fight scene in Infinity War with Groot and Rocket and says, "Bring me Thanos." The rage and the emotion of this character has developed so well over the years. If you think back to the original Thor movie where he was a little dry and clueless, he really has developed into a very awesome character. And him dropping in this moment and yelling, "Bring me Thanos," because of the rage of him killing his loved ones, his people, and all of the different issues that happened because of Thanos, it was so cool to see. He then went on later to strike Thanos, and the famous line, "You should have aimed for the head," was delivered. This moment was definitely worth mentioning and is an honorable mention on my list. Number 1. You probably have guessed it by now, and if you haven't already, it is that moment. The moment that forever changed the MCU. The moment that everything led up to, from Iron Man all the way through to Avengers End Game. I am Iron Man, as he whispered, snapped, and sacrificed himself for the entirety of the MCU universe. Iron Man's I am Iron Man moment, which was a direct callback to I am Iron Man in the original Iron Man movie, definitely silenced the world, caused many to cry, and feel an absolute joyful pain that still rings through if you sit there long enough thinking about it. I know maybe it sounds a little silly to get this emotional over a movie. It's just a fake film about superheroes. It never happened. It's not real. It's all made up. But like I've mentioned several times during live streams or in different videos, we all have emotional connections to these characters. A lot of them raised us in certain aspects or taught us how to be a better man, a better individual. Spider-Man teaches selflessness. Iron Man teaches courage and strength against adversity. When people don't believe in you, you believe in yourself. Thor teaches hard work, teamwork, brotherly love, the importance of sticking by your people. Captain America teaches a moral strength of character and doing what's right even when everybody else doesn't think you are. And many other characters who teach us lessons that, if we pay attention to, become a part of our everyday life and our strive to become a better person. The I am Iron Man moment for me is a moment I'll never forget because it truly signifies being the best version of myself. Iron Man struggled throughout the entire MCU, all 3 phases up to his huge sacrifice, being the bigger man. And by that I mean sacrificing himself for others and not just using fancy tricks and tactics to better himself. At this moment, we saw the best version of Iron Man, who gave himself for his kid, for SpiderMan, and for everybody in the MCU universe that needed to be restored from the blip. And not just that, those who did survive and were struggling to gain reality's understanding of they're gone and life needs to move on. Everybody was struggling, and Iron Man in that moment became the best version of himself to better everybody else around him. Yes, they are just movies. Yes, it is all made up, comic book action heroes, and this isn't real. But in a lot of ways, to a lot of people, it is real. And these are moments that they will never forget. The cinematic experience that made us all love the MCU. Let me know which of these moments you agree with or what your top 5 were in the comment section down below. Please, please, please. I'd love to hear what you guys remember. What moments gave you goosebumps? What moments taught you to be a better person? Let me know in the comment section down below. Consider subscribing if you haven't already and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any of our daily videos right here on Cosmic Culture.